popular couple of social media platforms are updating their platform to now feature AI generated profiles. Here's how this is going to affect you and your real estate business. Hi, everybody. My name is Jarvis. If you're new to the show, this is where we dive into marketing advice that's really helpful for real estate agents trying to succeed on social media. So, thank you for being here. And the reason why you might want to listen to me is these are the results that we generate for real estate agents that we've worked with over the past year. So, just a couple of stats to toot our horn about. Anyway, let's jump into this story. So, Meta is talking about introducing AI generated characters who are basically going to be fake, I guess, fake profiles that can increase engagement. Now, obviously, there are pros and cons to this. And at the end of the video, I'm going to walk through exactly how you can utilize this to your benefit, what to expect, and how to, of course, still use social media and this update to grow your business and to benefit from it and not to fall to the wayside like many people do when these algorithms update. So, I want to jump in and read the article first. So, AI characters are already driving big engagement on social apps. So I'm going to skip through this a little bit, but I'll read a little bit of it in the beginning here. So there's been a lot of discussion within weeks about the potential influx of AI characters coming to social media and what impacts this will have on human user activity. This comes after a Meta representative explained to the company's plan to bring AI characters into its app, complete with profiles, bios, etc. These characters will post, comment, engage as real people on Facebook and Instagram, with users often unaware that they're not real people, which is weird on many levels. And this is true. It's at first glance here, this really does feel like something that is just like why, right? Like, why introduce fake people onto a social media platform? The whole concept is to get in front of real people. And as far as we know, it's always been a kind of a taboo thing to have fake accounts or bot accounts, right? Like, Meta has always frowned upon those. But it gets kind of interesting, and the ideas behind why they're doing this are really kind of intriguing. So let's dive back in. But it may also be an inevitable future, the logical conclusion of increasing our focus on generative AI, where replacing human engagement with artificial exchanges is not only unavoidable, but potentially even preferable in some cases. That concept may seem absurd and offensive to some, and while many others are absolutely sure that they'll never mistakenly engage with AI bots and that they'll always be able to pick them out based on mistakes in their images, clumsy responses, and various other tells. Yet the evidence suggests that the majority of people won't know the difference and won't necessarily be able to differentiate between human and AI bot engagement. Even now, at these early stages of generative AI, we're already seeing such additions generate huge engagement. Take, for example, Facebook. It has this meme here, which is pretty AI featured, right? I think that's pretty easy to see here. But what's really interesting here is that, of course, obviously AI is always getting better, and we know that. Like, we're seeing in real time AI improve. I mean, there's this really famous video of an AI generated video that basically someone had, Will Smith eating spaghetti. This was like a year or two ago, and it was impressive that it could generate it at the time, but it looked like really, really fake, like very bizarre, distorted, and very easy to tell that that was not real life. But more recently, they did the same prompt, and it was far more difficult to see, and something that if somebody was passing, they definitely wouldn't know that it's AI generated. Upon further inspection, you could tell, but it just goes to show the amount of the speed at which AI is improving, and that just goes to show that probably will be able to generate posts that people won't be able to differentiate from real life. But it's very interesting in terms of creating these because the idea is to increase engagement, which again, most people will say, hey, well, why do I care about engagement from fake engagement platforms? But there's a really strong argument to be made that a lot of people are engaging with bot accounts already. And I'm really interested to see if this article kind of covers that because it is an interesting phenomenon that's already been happening. It's just that now it's kind of above board, and it's like this practice that Meta is actually sponsoring instead of saying is taboo. So let's jump back in. Many more creators will soon be able to build their own depictions of this type, and Meta knows that this will also trigger increased engagement and interactions with users likely unaware that they're not real. It feels dishonest, and there's a whole other conversation to be had about developing a relationship with any kind with an AI character. and what that may do for people's mental health. But again, Meta's already got data on these characters. It shows how users are responding. It's not planning to unleash its AI characters without solid awareness of what the response may be. Um, Saman says tens of thousands of people had signed up to his app before he joined Meta, and while many of them you'd suspect would have done so out of curiosity, many were also using it regularly, which is another indicator that there's significant interest in this type of interaction activity. So, this is based off an entire app, which is, filled with AI characters. I forgot, does it say what the app is exactly? Um, I don't think it does, but basically the app that this guy Michael Saman had created, let's see actually a little bit about that really quickly. This new app that lets you interact with millions of bot profiles. So this guy created an app that's fake social media, looks just like Twitter or X, and basically they're all just like bots to interact with. So Meta hired this guy, which is really interesting, to I guess be on this team that's heading up this AI character creation. But it's very, very interesting. So, and just to clarify, these are not like, oh, we're going to give you access to an AI bot to create. It's like, no, Meta is going to create these and then put them on the platform and not necessarily differentiate, it seems like, that they're a bot or they're real life, which is really interesting and kind of a peculiar move for a platform that's had such interesting, I guess, existence, with mental health and also just transparency. So let's kind of dive further. The evidence is clear, and the engagement data for such options is compelling. And while it may not feel like it's actually social engagement, I would agree with that, in the way that we know it, in terms of human to human sharing, there is a level of demand there that will likely see AI characters drive a big response on both Facebook and Instagram. Even if Meta has disclosure rules in place so that people can identify the AI bot profiles if they want to, even if the responses they produce are a bit weird and off at times, even with those um, in mind, many millions of people will still interact with that. So it may be strange and off-putting, but whether you personally hate the concept, the development of AI suggests that this is coming, whether you like it or not. So what's so interesting about this is, especially if we put it through the lens of how businesses engage on social media anyway, there is a big emphasis on bot activity. And by the way, if it's not clear, I'd love to just kind of clear the record. Like if you're on Instagram and you see that there are uh, people offering to get you thousands of followers within like a couple days for like 50, $60, those are bot followers that you're getting. And usually you don't get any engagement from them, or if you do, it's really bad and it kind of goes away after time. Meta has always frowned upon this, and I recommend don't do that because your account could get taken down. It was always seen as dishonest and something that Meta didn't sponsor. And now the AI generated content, it's very interesting because basically we're really diving into this whole idea of like, oh, you can live in your own echo chamber, your own universe, and you just have all these fans of these bot followers. But in the business side of things, it's very interesting because people will get a lot of followers to increase their legitimacy and their authenticity, ironically, and also just seem more credible, right, to potential people that might buy or sell their products. Now, what's so interesting about this is that I actually think that's a great idea, except for the part where getting bot followers can remove people off your account. So we run ads for our agents to get followers for their accounts. And we see tens of thousands of followers a month for agents coming in, or at least 10,000 followers, or up to 10,000 followers, depending on your plan. And it's great because it does help you stand out from the other thousands of real estate agents out there. However, if we're talking about engagement, it's really important to understand that engagement is different than necessarily just having followers on the platform. And engagement is something where you really only want to be factoring it in if it's somebody who's likely to buy or sell your product. And so that is where this is a little bit different. So here are some suggestions that I have, and kind of looking at the good and the bad of what this means for real estate agents out there. So first things first, let's talk about the good. So if you are trying to get more engagement, and most real estate agents I talk to face this problem where basically they're like, hey,
I post all the time and I don't feel like I get a lot of engagement. I feel like it's impossible to get followers on Facebook or Instagram. The good news is you're going to be able to get followers a lot more easily, right? You're going to get higher numbers that will look more credible to people. Now, what's also nice about this is that if they're building AI characters who are going to engage and react to things, it also is going to look legitimate to potential buyers or sellers. So when they come in and they see that there's more activity on your account, it may make you look more credible. And so that is a potential benefit there, which isn't nothing, right? Also, if they're building AI characters, they're most likely going to have these avatars have different preferences, right? Have different interests and things that are appealing to them. So, we may get a lot of AI real estate people who engage and follow pages who are talking about real estate. And so that's a huge benefit because if you're creating content around real estate and you're, finding it's harder to get followers or whatnot because you're talking about stuff that's a little bit more niche, you're only talking to making content for people that are going to be interested if they're buying or selling, and if they're not, then they're not going to be very interested in following that page. That may be there may be a lot of AIs created that are actually interested in interacting with that, and that's part of like their programming, so to speak. So the benefit is that the numbers are going to look a lot nicer, which can have a positive impact on your business. There's nothing to say bad about, right? Now, on the bad side, I think it's going to make tracking important data a lot more difficult. Now, many real estate agents don't do this anyway, so it might be something that's not that much of a difference for a lot of folks. But you really should be using social media to track your data, and you should be tracking the kind of content that's interacting with people, the kind of content that's getting people to give you a phone call or to reach out or to comment. That becomes a conversation that maybe leads to them becoming a client. That's really important data that can help your business on all different sides. Let me give you an example. So let's say you create 3 posts in a week, right? One is talking about advantages of buying or selling in your area right now, and like how taxes play into account or how interest rates are dealing with that, whatever seasonality. Let's say a second post you make is talking about the benefits for just for first time home buyers, right? And how to help how first time home buyers can understand navigating the market. Cool. And then the last one, let's say, is about downsizers, like older folks who are downsizing and looking to buy a new house that's more appropriate for their needs. Let's say you post those 3 videos, right? And let's say the second one, the one that's really, really interesting for first time home buyers, that gets a lot of people giving you a DM, or even just one or two people DMing you. Maybe it gets more comments, people asking questions. And the other two, let's say, get like hardly any response, nothing that even pings the radar, really, so to speak. So we say, okay, well, out of the 3 different content types that I posted this week, this one in the middle that talks about first time home buyers, that actually got people to say like, hey, like, this is really interesting. Like, how could we start the process of buying a home? Or I was thinking about buying a home for a long time and I didn't think that I could, but this video helped to me understand that maybe I could actually do that. That is where social media is powerful because then you can say, wow, okay, on the same platform to the same basic audience, I created content and this one out of the 3 actually produced meaningful results. Now we can take that and say, well, let's take our traditional marketing. Let's say if you're doing radio ads or you're doing mailers or TV ads, maybe even, you say, well, maybe I should, test out shifting my focus instead of just general real estate. Maybe I should focus in this case, on first time home buyers because that is where I'm actually getting traction. There might be an advantage that I have with explaining this stuff that resonates with that audience better. Or B, maybe there's just a missing opportunity here, and that a lot of agents in my market aren't really tapping into this potential. In which case, like, great, that's a competitive advantage. Let's dive into that. So if you this really long example short, if you're able to test the kind of content that's actually producing results now, the problem is that AI might really muddy those waters. Now, if you're getting a bunch of engagement from a bunch of posts, regardless of the likelihood that a real person is going to engage, and that could give you credible knowledge to go off of, that makes things a lot trickier to cipher through. And you might be getting 5, 6 comments a post now, which would seem great, but only one of those is real, and one it's harder to find which one's real. And some posts are going to be real, some posts are going to be all AI. That becomes really, really tricky. And so, what is so tough with that is you are going to just be it's going to be even harder to track the data, which is one of the biggest benefits social media provides, and that could be tricky. So taking all of that into account, the good and the bad, what do I recommend that you do, to keep in mind right now, and when this change, which feels like it's likely to happen, actually goes through? What are some things that you can do? Well, first and foremost, obviously, keep pushing your content, right? Goes to show, like, the benefits and the drawbacks of this don't really massively move the needle to the point where I would say, hey, social media isn't beneficial anymore. I still think it's the best platform, the best marketing platform, especially for real estate agents who don't have a lot of budget. I still think it's wildly worth your time. All you need to do is ask any real estate agent who's gotten a client from organic posting, and I guarantee you it's been a really great ROI on the 5-10 minutes it took to make a post, right? So I still highly recommend you post a lot. I mean, honestly, I think now would be a really great time to double down. If it's the new year and you're saying, hey, I kind of want to finally do this, now would be a really great time to create a lot of content of varying content types. So those examples I gave before, tips and tricks for first-time home buyers, maybe tips for downsizers. Make individual videos, and I really recommend videos here that talk about these specific topics. Don't just go general, like, hey, I'm your nearby realtor, use me to buy or sell your house. That's too broad, right? We want to focus on these little itty bitty micro niches inside of real estate, because that will give us the data that's going to be easier for us to determine now if it's going to get us, the kind of interactions that will benefit us. Then I also would recommend looking into ads. The reason is because if organic becomes trickier, one thing that AI shouldn't, or at least I'd be very surprised if it messed with, are the ads side of things. Why? Meta makes their money on ads, right? The better their ads perform, the more likely are people, small businesses like you and me, are going to run ads on their platforms. And that just means that if we are very likely to use their platform because it's good, they're not going to sacrifice that or risk that with AI engagement. AI engagement's probably only going to be an organic thing because, if you run ads, for instance, you get a bunch of leads and two-thirds of them are AI bots, that would look really bad for Meta. I really don't think Meta is going to do that. I don't think any platform would do that. It'd be a really dumb move. This really feels like it's purely for an organic thing. So now would be a very, very good time to get better at running ads. Or even just hiring a company, obviously I'm biased towards mine, but any company that may be able to help you run those if you're too swamped, or if it's a skill set you'd rather hire out for, whatever. Because if organic becomes harder to get some traction on, that means that people are going to put more effort towards paid, which means a couple things. One, it's going to be more expensive to hire a company because they're going to have more options, people looking to use ads with them. Or two, it's going to be more expensive just in terms of the ad spend, because more people are going to be running ads. Ads work on a bid system, so the more people who are trying to target your audience, the more expensive it's going to be for you to try and target that audience. And also, the harder it's going to be to get engagement. If every agent in your market is trying to target people with ads, then not only is it going to be more expensive, it's going to be more expensive to hire a company to do that, but then also you're just going to have more people in the pool, which is going to make it tougher to differentiate yourself from the other agents out there. So um, now is a good time to get really good with ads, because you can learn when it's cheaper, have really effective ads going into this. And if ads really does explode, paid ads on socials explodes for your market, you're going to have a leg up because you took some time to build this out before that potential huge bandwagon of people starts kind of making content that way, or paid ads that way. And so, guys, what I would really recommend is that you do as much as you possibly can now. Understand and do your data testing before AI starts to muddy the waters. Understand that this is going to be a shift in the market. Real estate agents, you should be very comfortable with that. I mean, every small business, when they shift something massively on social media, there are repercussions. And the faster you can learn from that, the more chances there are that you're going to be profitable from that shift. It's not going to hurt you, it's actually going to help you. And I think there's a big opportunity for this. We'll see engagement go up. That's great. The problem is it's going to muddy the analytics that we use. So what we're going to need to do is build a lot of those analytics now and run ads now. And that kind of stuff is going to be very helpful for you going into the future. There are also skill sets that you should be doing anyway. If you're really good at organic and paid, you're going to be a very powerful force to reckon with. So I highly recommend that you do that now before things get more complicated. It already feels like socials are complicated enough as it is. So I hope that was helpful. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.